Greetings, class. This is your instructor, James Stevens, and I just wanted to check in and hope everyone's doing okay during this first week. I know that D2L has been slow, as it typically is in the first few days of a semester due to the heavy volume of people logging in and trying to access their courses. That should subside here fairly soon, and the system should be running smoothly as we would like it to. One thing that I would mention about D2L is that the preferred browsers are Firefox or Chrome, as all of the features are enabled and work best with those browsers. You will notice if you're using Internet Explorer that the drag and drop feature, which is very convenient for uploading files, say to an assignment Dropbox, that feature does not work in Internet Explorer. You'll actually get an error message. So you'll want to switch to Firefox or Chrome, or you'll have to hit the Browse button in order to upload your document. You will not be able to drag and drop. So just to review, here in week 1, we have the introductory activities. Remember, these do not count as academic attendance. They do not qualify. So you'll need to participate in or complete the Chapter 1 quiz or some of the Chapter 1 discussions. And non-attendance for this course will be registered or begins at 6 p.m. on January 29th. So you want to make sure that you have done one of those, the Chapter 1 quiz, or posted to one of those Chapter 1 discussions before next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Otherwise, you'll be dropped for non-attendance. Okay, one other important issue is that you should also make sure you've activated your official Front Range Community College student email account, and the instructions for that have been posted. I've uploaded them to the Getting Started folder. So please make sure you use that. That is where all official college business information will be emailed. And you should only email me from that account or D2L. You should not be emailing me from your Gmail, Hotmail, or other personal email. Okay, and I wanted to talk about some of the slides that are in Chapter 1 because I think it's very difficult to get a true feel for the content just by viewing the slides, although it's something I encourage you to do. And I won't have time to go over every single slide, but just I want to handpick a few selected slides where I think the content needs some enhancement or embellishing, so that way you have a greater understanding. So we'll see how this goes, and if you guys feel like it's working out for you, then I'll continue to do that on future chapters. So Chapter 1 is titled Choosing What You Eat and Why, and it's really designed in part to get you to start thinking about what you are putting into your bodies in terms of both food and beverages, and why you're doing it. What are the factors that influence those many food choices that we make? And there's a scientist named Brian Wansink who is the director of the Cornell Food and Brand Lab. He has written a book called Mindless Eating. And he says that we as humans are faced with over 200 food decisions every day. And many of them are decisions that we make subconsciously or unconsciously. So we're exposed to many, many, many food-related decisions. And so what ultimately impacts the food and beverages that we select? Is it something like food availability, which, if this was my figure, I would rename that convenience. And this is actually in page 5 of your textbook. Food availability, convenience. Do you choose things because they're very easy to get or attain? Do you choose things based on food flavor, which I would call taste? And I would venture to guess that many of us, most of our food-related decisions are based on those two factors: convenience and taste. Those are very driving, motivating forces at play. Sometimes marketing plays a role, and that could be something in the media, print media, a commercial on TV. You go to the supermarket and there's something on the end caps. You read nutrition labels, and the marketing on nutrition labels is very competitive right now, and manufacturers are trying to lure people in to buy their products? Are you maybe choosing foods based on your routine and habits because they're so heavily ingrained that it's something that you do almost on automatic pilot? Do you choose food based on cost? It's very common, and even at Front Range Community College, that students have a limited income to spend on food, and so oftentimes the price of food influences those choices. Food customs and culture. I'll share with you that I am actually half Korean, and I grew up in a Korean home, and we ate rice. Not with every meal, but it seemed like, looking back, it seemed like at least every day. And so that was a heavy influence on my food intake when I was young. Do you choose food based on whom you're around or with? Either your immediate family or your friends. Okay, do your friends like to go to fast food establishments and you accompany them there and end up eating there? And then we have psychological needs. Do you eat foods possibly out of a certain feeling or emotion? Are you a stress eater? Do you eat when you're sad? Do you eat when you're happy? All of those emotions can impact food consumption. And maybe some of you are walking into this class with a good degree of knowledge about health and nutrition and wellness, and so perhaps you select foods based on those pre-existing beliefs, which is fabulous. Okay, so there's a lot of factors that impact. And what we did in class was we did an exercise where we wrote down everything that we ate or drank on a sheet of paper, and beside that we selected the one factor that impacted that food choice or beverage choice the most. And this is something that you might do at home, just to get you start again to thinking about what you're eating and why you're doing it. Many of us, we are on automatic pilot. We do choose foods subconsciously, unconsciously. And my goal in this chapter is that you begin to think about what you're putting into your body, and again, why you're doing it. What are the factors that influence it? Okay, let's move on. In this class, we have different definitions for hunger and appetite. Although outside of this class, you'd probably think of these terms as being interchangeable or synonymous, right? You have hunger, you have appetite, it means the same thing. From a nutritional science perspective, and nutrition is a science, which we'll talk about later, hunger is your physiological drive to eat. It's when you've gone 4, 5, or 6 hours between meals. You get that feeling, that empty feeling in your stomach. Maybe your stomach starts to make noises, rumble. Okay, that's a physiological need to eat. Perhaps your blood sugar drops. Okay, and you need to eat food to replenish that sugar in your bloodstream so you don't get hypoglycemic or low blood sugar. So that's what hunger means. Appetite is your psychological drive to eat. And it encompasses all of those non-physical related reasons why we consume food. A moment ago we talked about eating from stress or other emotions. We eat when we're past the point of fullness because of many other reasons as well, because perhaps the taste of food, we enjoy the taste of it so much that we continue eating it. Okay, so appetite is when we desire to eat something outside of the realm of the physical or biological, or what we call the physiological need to eat. So make sure you understand the difference between those terms. Now there's another term that we often use in the nutrition world. It's called satiety. Satiety, and that is a feeling of fullness when you've reached a point where you no longer desire to eat any more food. And many of us have each of us has an individual different level of satiety that we're aiming to achieve. And some of us eat past the point of satiety, to the point that we're so uncomfortably full or stuffed. Think of how you felt maybe after eating a big Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner meal. Right? You're past the point of satiety. So the key thing here is that you want to identify, you have to be in tune with your body and its signs and signals it's sending you, and identify what is a comfortable level of satiety, and that's when you should put the fork down and stop eating. Okay, so As I said a few moments ago, nutrition is a science. One thing I wanted to point out is that it's a relatively young science compared to other sciences. And so what happens is that, as all sciences do, nutrition science evolves and it changes. We'll probably hear some things in the course of this semester that contradict past beliefs, hypotheses, or theories about nutrition. And it's just, I want you to understand that that happens because of the fact that nutrition is A, a science, and B, a young science. Okay, when we consume food, I want you to think of that food that you're consuming or beverage as a package of nutrients. There's not just one nutrient in that food that you're consuming, but many nutrients. And the reason why I point this out is we develop very strong connections to between foods and nutrients. For example, if I said, name the mineral that first comes to mind when I say milk, most of you would say calcium. If I said, name the vitamin that most first comes to mind when you hear oranges, many of you would say vitamin C, right? But I want you to understand that there's many other nutrients found within those foods because foods are packages of nutrients. There are 6 different types of nutrients: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and water. And I'm not going to perseverate on this slide because we're going to have entire chapters this semester devoted to each one of these nutrients. For now, it's just important that you understand that carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins are macronutrients because they are needed in large amounts and they supply energy. And then vitamins and minerals are considered micronutrients because we need them in small amounts and they do not provide energy. Now, water really doesn't fit nicely into any of those two categories because we need water in relatively large quantities, but it does not provide energy. So some of you may be wondering, well, what is meant by energy? Energy, within the context of our class, means providing calories. Providing calories. So we see carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are nutrients that provide calories. Alcohol provides calories, but it does not meet a definition of a nutrient, sadly, for many of us who enjoy it. Okay, so what is a calorie? Well, it's a measurement of heat energy. And some of you may know that when you eat food, it actually slightly causes your body temperature to rise. Now, you're not going to feel like you're having you have a fever because you eat so much food, and that is because we have so much water in our bodies. It would be very difficult to actually sense that change in heat. Okay, but calorie is a measurement of heat energy, and in this class you're going to see something known as a kcal or kilocalorie. And what I want you to understand is that a kilocalorie is the same thing that you'll see on a nutrition label where they show calories. Okay, you know, here in the United States, we don't like using the metric system, so we decided we would drop the kilo or the K when we have calories out there in the public, so people don't get confused. But you will see that our textbook and many of the slides use the term kilocalorie, and just understand that kilocalorie is synonymous with calorie. Okay, gang, well, that's the slides that I wanted to go through, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, let me know, and I'll continue to make more of them throughout the remainder of the semester. So have a great week studying Chapter 1, choosing what you eat and why.